boys and girls. I'm Miss Carolyn back again with not just a walk, or a hike. We are going backpacking with a special group of friends here today. They're going to show us all the ins and outs of backpacking and all sorts of great places you can visit. And we're going to tie it in with our continent of the week, Asia. So we'll be talking about that. We're actually in the Rocky Ridge rural area on the Standing Stone Trail in rural Huntington County. So come along and join us for backpacking this week on our Wednesdays with Carolyn. All right, boys and girls, we have our our enthusiasts for backpackers. I call them experts. We have Katie and Kat and Kristen and Carolyn and Nicholas here joining us for this beautiful day of backpacking. And we're going to start out by, I guess, heading up the trail and see what's on their backs. We're going to ask these folks lots of questions about all the things that are in those backpacks, how much they weigh, and all the great things. But first and foremost, we're going to get a look at what you can do when you're out backpacking and it ends up being the end of the day and you need a place to stay. We'll see that next. All right, Nicholas, can you tell me as we're walking here, what are you carrying and how heavy is it?
I'm not exactly sure how heavy it is, but I have a hammock, a tarp, a sleeping bag, some water, and like clothes and all that stuff.
How long have you worn that thing on some of your trips you've been on?
The longest trip I've done was in Yosemite, which was 50 miles or something like that.
Wow, that's amazing. There they go. I'm only carrying a camera and I'm already winded. Imagine carrying those things. They'll show us what it all is about. Okay, Kristen, I see I've come across the first sign. What does this mean, and do you find these often?
Well, on the Standing Stone Trail and Mid-State Trail, we have designated campsites like this one, and often they have a sign on them to tell you this is where the camping is.
That's great. And how do you sign up for a campsite when you're out here?
You don't have to sign up. Just whenever you're hiking the corridor of the trail, you find a place to stay, and that's where you set up for the night.
So we found the site here. Hey, do you want to explain what you're putting down first?
Putting down a ground cover so that when I'm sleeping, the tent stays dry and it protects it from the wet earth.
Kat, you have something a little different.
I am sleeping in a hammock, so I often let the tenters find their space first because you can notice there's a little bit of wetness here, but that won't affect me whatsoever. So I will be setting up my hammock between two trees and I don't have to worry about if there's too much moisture or any kind of ground cloth.
While you're doing this, tell us what trips you're going to be heading on this summer.
I'm going to be hiking in Vermont this summer, and it's a very long trail. It's actually called the Long Trail. It's 273 miles, and it goes all the way from the Massachusetts border up to Canada. So it's going to be a long hike, but I think it will be fun.
Why do you like to do this? Give us a reason. What's the real Katie? What do you get out of this?
Well, it's just really fun to be spending so much time in nature and in the wilderness, and it's just a wonderful time to spend time with friends and really enjoy the beauty of the natural areas in this country and near our area, near our house.
I asked Katie, but I'm going to ask you, what is the excitement about backpacking and living out here in the wilderness?
I guess it's just it's nice and peaceful out in the woods, and it's fun just to hike around, not have to worry about like school or any of that kind of stuff.
Okay, boys and girls and grown-ups, this took maybe 5 minutes at the tops, and we've got an entire lovely campsite here built. And it didn't take too much time or effort. Of course, I would again call you folks the experts. All right, Kristen, we're going to ask you to unveil what is in this looks like heavy backpack.
Right, like my backpack is between 25 and 35 pounds on a normal trip, depending on how much food and water I'm carrying. But inside here today, I have all of the gear that I would carry along with that food and water. So of course you saw me setting up my tent, which was inside here, but there's a lot more things inside.
Oh, let's look.
Whoa. Well, of course, with the tent goes the thing that you sleep in, which is the sleeping bag.
Oh, come on. That's a big sleeping bag? That's going to fit
is.
you? Wow.
Well, a lot of sleeping bags are made of down, which is the under feathers of birds. So they squish down really small. So are you ready? Okay.
Wow.
And then you can fluff it up.
Uh-huh.
Get all the insulation ready.
There it is. That's what you'll need to sleep in at night.
And of course
Great.
I have my inflatable pillow too. The other thing I have is I have my cook kit. So this is where I keep my stove because of course there's no stove out here. And so in here we have this tiny little stove.
Oh, my goodness.
We can hook that up to a fuel canister and cook our meals.
Wonderful.
What else? Whoa, this is the first aid kit. Very
All important.
Very important.
Let's
You can-
talk about safety. When you do backpacking or just even hiking, you should always have some sort of a first aid kit.
Right. A first aid kit could be when you're going out hiking with your family. You can bring Band-Aids. You can bring bug spray, sunscreen, medicine that your parents could carry, boys and girls, in case you get sick. So those are all good things to have in your first aid kit. And I have all those things in here too for me, for when I'm out backpacking.
Kat looks like she's getting ready to relax a little bit.
Ready to relax. I've got my sleeping bag here, and I always have to test this to make sure I tied it good enough. And then this is, oftentimes if it's a beautiful night, I like to sleep with just the screen on. But if it rains, I have this, which you can undo and pull out a nice little tarp to cover you. And it's nice to be able to see the stars and look up at the sky if it's a good enough night. So you have the choice here.
Kat, let me ask you this about parents and grown-ups going and starting this as kind of a family tradition. What do you think? Why is it important to kind of try something like this, maybe?
Well, it's a beautiful opportunity to bond together. You get to be together outside without a lot of the usual distractions. Oftentimes parents are very consumed with chores and getting the cooking done and getting the dishes done, and all those things you think those things out before you take off. So you have your menu, you have everything so simplified that it's more about being together and spending time together and enjoying being around a fire together and eating together and exploring. It's a very uncomplicated vacation.
Katie, now that yours is up, you wanted to share with the boys and girls some special features about your sleeping accommodations.
Special features. Well, let's see. Well, first of all, I don't have the rain fly on right now because if it's a nice clear night, then I really enjoy just sleeping without it because you can see the stars and feel the breeze. And that's really nice. But come on in, I'll give you a peek here. Right now I don't have my sleeping bag in it yet, but I would normally put down my sleeping pad and my sleeping bag, and this is a 3-person tent, so it would be very cozy for 3 people, but that's how many people this tent fits. You want to see inside?
Oh yes, it is very large. That's beautiful, and you keep it so nice and clean too, which
Yes.
is important. Do you actually like take your shoes off before you head in
Yeah,
there?
I actually don't wear my shoes in the tent, and when I do come to camp after a long day of hiking, what I'll do is I'll put on these Crocs right here because my feet are very ready to get out of these boots at the end of the day. So I take off these Crocs and I wear them around camp when I'm making dinner and getting and relaxing, getting into my tent. So I really love using these Crocs after a long day.
Kristen, I see you're getting set up for dinner. And
Yeah.
there's your stove. We saw that. Now you added the fuel for it. on the
There it
bottom.
is. It's ready.
Okay. And what did you bring along for today's dinner?
Well, I think today's dinner will be herbed mushroom risotto. All you have to do is boil water in your pot here on top of the stove, and then you just peel this open and pour the water in, and then you eat it right out of this bag. Very easy.
And you take everything back out with you. when
That's
you're done.
right. This will be garbage because it'll be dirty, but we'll put that back inside our bag and leave no trace and take it with us and put it in a trash can back at home.
There's several ways in which you can store your food at night. I have never had a problem with a bear, and I've been in areas where there's bears, but this is considered a ursack. It's considered bear-proof because they can't open it with their teeth and they can't claw it. My biggest problem has always been red squirrels, and this is also red squirrel proof. And what you're to do is take it away from your campsite. Usually you take a bear bag away from your campsite and hang it over a limb and away from your campsite, but because these are bear proof, they say you can just leave them at your campsite. So if you use this, you use a scent proof bag inside that bears apparently can't smell. and then you hang this. You would hang this up high, because bears are not smelling usually high up in the tree area. A bear is like a dog, so if we have people who are leaving food by their campsites, you're training them to come to campsites. So you just want to be careful not to train them to become dependent on humans for food.
If you see a bear, which probably isn't that likely, oftentimes they're more afraid of us than we are of them. So if you see one, relax, don't run, just make yourself big and make some loud noises maybe and slowly back away, but you no need to run. Just stay calm and remember you got this.
Katie, do we sing campfire songs?
Yes.
You do that? Oh, you do?
Absolutely. If you want to, go for it. Just be polite of the animals and people around you.
Fast forward to the next day, and it's time to head back out on the trail. So here they are, taking down their campsites. So you've got lots of different things to hook up when you put your backpack on.
Yes, you want it to feel comfortable while you're walking all those miles. Generally speaking, backpackers hike between, say, 12 and 20 miles a day. So that's a lot of miles to be hiking with something on you. So you need to make sure you have the right backpack that fits you good. You need to make sure the straps are all adjusted to fit your body specifically. And you want to make sure everything is latched and hooked before you go. It's like riding the car. You always make sure your seatbelt's on. So backpacking, you always make sure all your straps are connected and you're ready to hike.
We are already all broken down, and as you can see, we've left it just as we started. So important, is that right, Kat?
Absolutely. We practice leave no trace.
Wearing my husband's old jacket. We love their hand-me-downs.
So we've been doing 4,000 foot together. So we love to make sure they got the right equipment. So everybody's comfortable.
Okay, so like as all good trails, these are very important markers. And we call them blazes. And how do you associate those with maps? Who wants to talk about how do you know where to start and what to do?
Most of the time, obviously when you're out with your parents, boys and girls, your parents will find you a map, either online or a paper map. You can get those at state park offices. Like I said, you can get them online from trail clubs, from their websites. And then once your parents get you to where you're hiking, a lot of the time you'll see a trail sign. You often see those at trailheads, which is where the trail begins, a trailhead. And then from there, you follow those blazes that we talked about.
All right, we're going to try to point out some beautiful points of nature. Lilies of the valley here. There's always something new and different to see in the beautiful woods of central Pennsylvania, right in your own backyard practically.
Here's some.
Whenever the trail turns, you end up with two blazes, and usually the blaze that's towards the turn is the one that's higher. And so you can see from this that we're going to turn to the right.
All right, water is critical.
All out of water, time to fill up.
Now this is very important, boys and girls and grown-ups, because you don't just pull from wherever the water source is, right?
Yes, you want to be careful. There is such a thing called giardia, so you want to be able to filter your water. And in my mind, this is the cleanest way to filter water. It's got, it's a wonderful system because you won't get any debris in it. I've been at ponds and places where there's debris, so I favor my Katahdin water filter. It's a pump. And then there's other people who have other preferences. It fits right into the top of an algae, and you just float it in the stream. And this is able to get water even from a puddle, a muddy puddle. You can drink, basically you can turn any kind of water into potable water using this.
And it's going right in there, and it's nice and clean and fresh when
Yes.
it gets there.
Yes, it is.
You have a little different system.
Yes, I just have a regular bottle you buy at the store, but I'm out of water. So I'm gonna get water here, This water has germs in it. It might have microorganisms in it, animals that are too small to see with your eye. It might have animals you can see with your eye when you look into your bottle. You don't want to drink any of those things. That can make you sick. So this is called a Sawyer squeeze. You just screw it onto your bottle and then you squeeze it in your mouth. And there's filters in here that filter out germs, bacteria, microorganisms, all those things that you shouldn't be drinking.
Okay, if you had one thing to say to boys and girls to convince them, let's try this backpacking thing, what would it be?
Well, you don't have to start huge. You can start with just a little hike with your family in the afternoon and then just work your way up. Add an hour, add a mountain peak, and then try an overnight and just keep going bigger and bigger and keep learning and keep exploring and invite all your friends to come join you and enjoy nature. And remember how awesome nature is and just make the most of it.
We're gonna go up to a tall peak. Not quite the Himalayas like in Asia, but it's pretty high up. You'll see. Beautiful scenery here. Water and lots of different plant life you can enjoy.
You are going to climb that rock. There will drop on top so you can climb that rock.
Whoa! Kat, are you holding that up?
I'm holding the rock up.
Okay, a quick aside, but Nicholas is also a boulder? Is that what you call?
Sure, it's just like climbing rocks, and these big rocks, they're called boulders, so I just wanted to climb one. Yeah.
And it's without ropes.
Yeah, without ropes and all that. So it's not like rock climbing, it's
We'll get a look at what it's like out there. This is beautiful Hunter's Rocks. Boys and girls, I want to point out that we are socially distanced, we're all vaccinated, and that's why we're not wearing masks, because we're outside, but we're very careful. All right, so we're here at Hunter's Rocks, and we're noticing a couple of things. We're comparing this very loosely with the continent Asia, where there's some pretty high mountains and big rocks, right?
That's right. Yeah, here in Pennsylvania, I mean, we don't have mountains that are as high as the Himalayas, of course, and you're probably wondering, well, why not? Well, you can see here we were noticing the holes and the cracks, and then here we're noticing all the sand, not because we're at a beach or that someone brought this in from their sandbox, but because this rock is eroding away. And so all these little bits of sand are pieces of this larger boulder of sandstone. And so the mountains in Pennsylvania actually used to be much, much taller millions of years ago, but of course because of glaciers and time, they've been worn down to the size they are now.
Point of reference here. All right.
Let's go exploring.
Kat is saying we can walk right through.
All these beautiful rocks. Look up at how high that rock is.
Ooh, this is nice. Oh, imagine the animals and people that probably stayed here over time. And coming out here, we're back out for more beauty. Whoa. Another important safety tip, you don't put your hands in crevices and places like that.
Right, you never know, we're here visiting the animals in their home, so you never know what animal's going to be hanging out in one of the cracks or crevices or holes. So one of the good rules to follow when you're out is to not put your hands or feet where you can't see where you're putting them, just in case.
All right, we're coming up to a place where I know nature did not move these logs. How did this happen?
Well, these trails don't maintain themselves. Of course, we're out here in the wild and trees fall naturally. So we have trail crew people that come and keep the trail clear and hikeable for hikers like us. Trail clubs like the Standing Stone Trail Club and the Mid-State Trail Association work on trails like these ones.
And people can volunteer?
Yes, you can volunteer your time to come and help out the crews.
All right, boys and girls, it's time to say goodbye. So we want to give a
Bye.
special thank you to our great backpacking guides, and they want to invite you to come on out next time, right?
That's right. Come on out.